All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Nonprofit Enthusiasts Live. I am so excited to have Miss Tamra here with us today so we can continue this month's conversation on fundraising and Giving Tuesday and all of the above. So thank you so much, Tamra, for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lashina, for having me. I'm so excited. I appreciate you reaching out to me to be on the Nonprofit Enthusiast. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited. All right. So if you are tuning in and you know that you have a friend that needs to be in this conversation, take a moment and tag them in the chat box so that they can join us this morning. If you're catching us on replay, give us a hashtag replay so that we know that you are here. And then we're going to get started shortly. If you're here, let us know that you're here. Give us a hey, I'm here. Good morning, something in the chat box so that we know you are here. Good morning, Shay. And don't forget, when you're inviting your friends to the join the live and tagging them, you have to invite them to the group as well. So that way they can catch this. Remember, the group is where you catch the live first before it goes out on any other platform. So just want to make that note. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Before we get started, I just want to say a special thank you to this month's sponsor, Roots Art Store. If you're looking for personalized jewelry to show your loved ones appreciation, be sure to check them out, and we'll drop their link in the chat box. And we appreciate all our sponsors for allowing us to continue to have this live on an ongoing basis and bring resources to you all at no cost. So thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so I am so excited to have you on today, and just for us to, so I'm gonna give you kind of like how it all came about. So a couple months ago, our topic of fundraising came up, and then the conversation on chamber. Actually, I think it was Abigail was on with me, and we were talking about chambers and chambers involvement. So then from there, we were like, we have to have someone who's involved in chambers, Chamber of Commerce's, to come on and just talk about the importance and that linkage to nonprofit organizations. And then for myself, I honestly didn't think as a nonprofit about that importance as well. So I figured there's others out there that needs to know about it. So I know we're going to talk a little bit about that today, along with all your multiple hats. Before we get started, if you could just tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell us about you.
Okay, so I have been in nonprofit since I'm gonna date myself. I graduated in 2000 from Michigan State University. My background is in social work. And so my actual degree is in family and community services. So yeah, it kind of zigzags. So I've been doing this since about 2000. Around 2012, I think I switched into more administrative type of, and a more administrative behind the scene type of role. So the community engagement, awareness, advocacy, and fast forward, now I am at Edgewood Children's Ranch as the Director of Business Development. I have been here for a few months now. I love the mission. My first love is young people, giving young people a second chance. So I love what I do. I love building relationships. I love advocating for those who may be the throwaways or the forgotten. And so, young people are my jam. I love this space. I serve on the League of Women Voters. I'm on the fundraising committee there. I am play an active role in the East Orlando Chamber of Commerce nonprofit roundtable. I have been tapped to chair that initiative and have had a blast doing it with everything that every nonprofit leader needs and desires. We have been trying to infuse that and being a part of the chamber. But those are just some of the things. I also just graduated from Leadership Orlando 102. Woo! And so I'm excited about that, which is part of the Orlando Economic Partnership the chamber. I'm also in the first cohort of the Black Boardroom, which is a new initiative by Orlando Economic Partnership. What they noticed is that there is a lack of representation of African Americans amongst nonprofit boards in our region. And so in order to change that, they launched this new initiative. So I'm super excited to be the first. We have a blast in that class, and there's great things to come. So that's a little bit about me, and I believe I've had great leaders in my life, and they've taught me that relationship is everything. And so I live and breathe that all the time. I'm always making new friends and building relationships in the community. So that's a little bit about me.
Love it. So speaking of relationships and kind of, and I know you talked about your involvement with the chamber, and this month's theme is Giving Tuesday and or Friendraising. And I think this falls perfect in that friendraising space, being able to build those relationships with different businesses, different nonprofits. Can you talk about some of those benefits for a nonprofit who never even thought about, oh, let me get involved with my local chamber? What are some of those whys?
Okay, so I'll jump into that. There are quite a bit of benefits to being a part of a chamber, especially when you're a nonprofit. We're always trying to create awareness, but we also have a bottom line that we have to reach. And in order for us to bring in the resources needed, no one can do it alone. You can't do it by yourself. You need your community, and those sometimes people overlook the benefits of local entrepreneurs and what they bring to the table. Some of the things, I'll just go down the list, but I look at it twofold. Their employees might need your services. For some of the smaller business, they can't pay huge salaries. So you might be a nonprofit that works with childcare or housing assistance. But in order for those businesses to continue to grow and thrive, they need their employees to have the supports they need as well. So it's a symbiotic relationship. And when you're in chambers, you have access to those, small businesses, those leaders in the community, those people who are employing the families that we serve, right there in the room. They have a seat at the table, so then they can get a different perspective, but you can also get the much needed volunteerism, board members, and I have about 25 nonprofit networking benefits. I won't go through all of them, but I'll read a few if that's okay.
Oh yeah. And before you do that, and I love the perspective that you gave just now, because sometimes as a nonprofit, you think, okay, I'm a nonprofit organization. I have nothing to give back to the chamber, but I know what, some of the benefits that can be given to us. And the fact that you said, like, yeah, these organizations may need your exact services, whether it's for their employees or even those they serve, depending on what their target audience and so forth is. So I like that perspective. So there it goes, because you don't want to just go at the table and have nothing to bring. You're pretty much saying, no, you have something as a nonprofit to bring, and also there's opportunities there for you as well. So I love it. All right, I'll let you jump into your list.
Yeah. So, Lashina, it's so good because everyone has a mom, right? Everyone, and a lot of your employees have children, from, the Alzheimer's associations to the early learning coalitions to 4C, you know what I mean? Like from the cradle to, when you're more senior, it's just a myriad of things that the chamber does. And especially with what we just went through, we all were in the same storm, right? So it touched everyone. And so we needed each other more than ever. And so if that's more well, that's just a huge benefit. So some of the things that I wrote down is when you're a part of a chamber, you're exposed to new ideas. You're on the cutting edge of what's going on in the community. You have access to new opportunities, resources, programs that you get firsthand information by being a part of chambers, strategic partnership opportunities. Some nonprofits, they have certain businesses that adopt them, and that's their thing. They
Mm-hmm.
volunteer, the big chains like Habitat for Humanity, those kind of things. They
Mm-hmm.
have companies that that is what they do, their employee giving. So all their employees, when they do employee giving, they give to that particular nonprofit. When it's their service day, they volunteer at
Mm-hmm.
that nonprofit. When it's the holiday, when it's time to leave a legacy gift or something like that, they think about
Mm-hmm.
that profit that they spent years being connected to.
Mm-hmm.
So those strategic opportunities are built where, when you're sitting next to and serving next to people at your local chambers. Learning opportunities about your community. Like I said before, what's going on. And this is another one, building your board member pipeline. So you need your advisory board and your executive board, those kind of things. But where do you recruit from? You
Mm-hmm.
have certain people that you would never have access to, but they're sitting in there. So if you're building your board and you need somebody in television, you have someone in banking, you have someone in transportation, all the different sectors. Where are you going to recruit from? Right there in your local chamber. You have access directly with them, and you can't, that's not just a cold email to
Mm-hmm.
someone, not a cold call, or what do you have in common? And they are more open to hearing about your mission and what you do and getting connected when you're at your local chamber. So
I love that you said that. And that's before you go to the next one. I love that you said that, because that's a question that we get often. Where do I find my board members? Like, I'm having a hard time, whether it's starting my organization or, I'm existing organization. I don't know where to find board members. And you just said it. They're right there. They're in your communities at these chambers. They're there, and through connection, you can identify some of those individuals that might be able to help build your board member pipeline. I love it.
I can't, I can't stress that enough. And sometimes, the unknown is always scary. And sometimes we feel in nonprofit, we're always worried about stepping on toes, being inappropriate, or not feeling, we're thinking, oh, we're just in nonprofit and this is this big community leader. But the higher up you go, the kinder people are and the more giving they are, is what I found. And like I said before, relationship is
Mm-hmm.
everything. They want to know you, they want to help you. And so it's just up to us to participate. Oftentimes when I'm at chamber meetings, and I had to learn this, I had to learn it over the years. I was a
Mm-hmm.
wallflower. So when I first went in the room, I didn't know what to expect. I'm in the room with all these people from different business sectors, and I don't know what to say. I don't know, I'm like, okay, I'm going to network, I'm going to introduce myself, but what do I have in common with all these people, and how do I make it, through these rooms? But and one of the things I also talked to the chambers about is they wanted to change that. And I know specifically for like the East Orlando Chamber of Commerce, they wanted to change that. And that's the point of the nonprofit roundtable, is to take us from being behind the scenes, behind the curtain, wallflowers, still in the room, but having a seat
Mm-hmm.
at the table to have these discussions with these leaders that's in the community, and seeing it from a better perspective, and not just being a person of administration setting the rules, but knowing
Mm-hmm.
why. And really hearing the voices of people in the community when they're making decisions for their customers and clients and things like that.
Wait, I know you're about to go to the next one. I just have to say this, because you brought up a really good points, and I know not a lot of chambers have that nonprofit component. And for you, those of you that's just tuning in, we're talking about the benefits. A couple months ago, the chamber conversation came up, and we said we'll bring it back so that we can really hone in on the benefits of nonprofits joining chambers of commerce. And you talked about like chambers also being able to provide a space for nonprofits, so they're not those flowers and can feel comfortable in the space overall, being a part of the chamber. That's absolutely awesome, especially if you're someone that's from a chamber in your different area and you don't have that sort of component. That is definitely, I think that helps, because when you have that space, okay, I go to the nonprofit roundtable, I know my group of nonprofits, we feel good. Now we're going into the regular chamber events, chamber meetings, we're seeing each other, but then also mingling with other businesses as well. But having that comfort to know that we also as nonprofits belong in that chamber space. And there's so often that I attend chamber, whether it's networking events or whatever it may be, at different, because in your community there's different types of chambers, so you have to kind of see the ones that you feel that best fits with your nonprofit organization. And I know that oftentimes I would probably be either the only nonprofit representative, or there'll just be just a few of us in the room. To me, I'm excited because I'm like, okay, this whole, like the world is your oyster. This is all like, amazing. Like here's all these relationships, to build. But on the flip side, I am also like, where are all my other people at? Where's my other nonprofits at? So that's why I felt this conversation was so important, because we got to realize that nonprofits, we should be in these spaces as well. We're always asking these questions. Where do I find board members? Where do I find this or so forth? We also need to be in these conversations, hearing what's going on, and also contributing, because we have something to bring as well. So I love it.
So it's good that you said that, Lashina, because one, I think it was a nun. I used to work at a nonprofit called Covenant House. And I was like, I'm not afraid to ask anybody for that last time. She said, honey, it's your job to show people how to show their kindness through giving. She says, so look at it, that's your main point. So you're in the room to help people. They want to show their kindness, but if they don't have us to help them and guide them, then they can't do that. And we're robbing people of giving back to their community. So it's good that you said that when you look at and having a spirit of collaboration. I think sometimes, and I've been blessed to have had some incredible thought leaders that I've worked with. So I have not gotten into this kind of mindset, but as nonprofits, sometimes they're competitive. So, but in these, and they're like, oh, we're competing for these same donors and dollars. It is so much money in our region, and that has not been tapped into. And if a donor is not, if your mission is not their thing, then your friends that are from other nonprofits, and you can say, let me introduce you to so and so. They work with retirees, or they work with the people who are differently abled, that kind of thing. And so we all can help each other in the long run, because we're still building each other's pipelines. And like I said before, we can do this together. So I'm glad you kind of brought that up about being in the room and making sure that our other nonprofit friends are with you, because I do the same thing. We're going to I got an open seat. Would you like to come?
Yep.
Come to my event, and then I'm going to come to yours, and we can kind of feed off of each other of how to do things better. So that's one of the things. So let me go through some of the other things, and then you can stop me. Okay, so staff development opportunities, including recruiting, education, and best practice sharing. So when you're at a chamber and you're trying to learn how to do certain things, who better to go to than the business community? How do you do this? Nonprofits, sometimes we figure it out, we make do, but sometimes there are ways that we can do things better, and have a direct connection to someone who can help us and sponsor our organization to help teach us the skills needed so that we can be successful. Sharing information about quality vendors and warning about bad vendors. I think sometimes the price of something, we look at the price of certain things and we're like, oh, we can never afford that. But you talk to another nonprofit and they're like, no, they have a nonprofit rate. they can call so and so, they can give you this, and these are the other things that you can do, that kind of thing. If we don't talk to each other, we won't know that, if we're not in those environments. Okay, I said the vendor discount. Sharing information about helpful funders or warnings about troublesome funders. So sometimes that donor is not your donor. And but I think one of the things I learned at the chamber is there's at the Edith Bush Institute for Philanthropy and nonprofit training. They have what's called what is it called? The fundraisers, it's like a funder table or something. They have a whole list of all the big donors. And then they have, events where you come in and they talk to you. Well, when I was at the chamber, I learned from someone about that. Like, you need to get connected to all these funders. And this is where you can go, because they were a funder that was a part of that. And then they also told me, like, okay, who do you have on your list? Like, maybe run off, at the top, run off. Who are you trying to get in contact with so I can help you? And that was one person. Love it. So you can hear about, share informations about trends, opportunities for thought leadership. Many networking events and presentations are a great place for developing future leaders. Where do you want to go from here? Because you might not want to just stay in this particular area, in your nonprofit. You might have a plan. In 5 years, I want to end up here. Well, you have access to people in the chambers of where you want to go. And so they can help mentor you and take you there. Learn about new technology or services that can help your nonprofit. I know there's a lot of CRMs that might be heavily discounted or free, but the only way I learned that was from someone who was a board member of another nonprofit and said, hey, look into things, this might be able to help you. What else? Expand your list of potential venues for events. We have our major anchor events where we do our fundraising, and you can learn where you can go, the different prices, the benefits, because you're a chamber member, because you've served alongside of them. We're going to figure out how to give you your venue in kind. And I've seen this happen with multiple nonprofits that I've been involved in, where you don't pay for the venue. And that's a huge expense. You have 200 people coming to be in attendance for you to do your largest fundraiser that's going to help carry your budget. And you don't want to have all these expenses. To rent a place, to rent a venue, is sometimes, you get a lump in your throat at some of these expenses. And a lot of venues, huge venues in our community, will do them in kind. And so if I had never been in the environment to where I can have these conversations, you just don't know what you don't know. But you can know. And people want to give you the information. They want to help you, and you have to shape your mind around, people are here to help me. And, where do I go for that watering hole where people are here ready and excited to show their kindness, so that I can help them show their kindness. I'm the perfect person. They want to know me. So, and what
love it.
What else? Find folks for your advisory board. I talked about discounts. And just, gain satisfaction and purpose. I mean, it fuels me when I build new relationships. I have one of the things I did, and I'll tell you guys, it's not a stalker thing, but when I first moved to Orlando, what I did was I created a vision board. And I read this magazine, and it was the Orlando magazine, I believe, and it was the 50 most powerful people in Orlando. So I'm a brand new fundraiser, and I'm like, okay, who do I need to know to be able to do this? And I don't know I'm not from Orlando. I don't know anything, but I got a
Mm-hmm.
whole magazine. So I put their pictures up. I read the magazine. Where do they go have meetings? Where do they eat? That kind of thing. And when I met one, then I met the other, and then I met the other, and I met the other.
Love it.
Connected. I feel like Orlando is a different type of environment where people crave connection. And that's why I said before, like the higher up you go, the kinder people are and the more giving they are. They want to help leave legacy in the community. So those are just some of
That's
my
friend raising right there.
yes, yes. So
I love that. Yeah, I love you that the you sharing about the 50. Yeah, it does sound kind of scary, but the 50 people that you need to know, and it's true, because once you meet a couple people, it's like you realize it seems really large, but you realize how really like small the networks are, just overall, so
yeah,
then once you meet one person, you get to meet the other, then you start attending events and keep seeing your new friends. This is that friend raising, and you talk
yes,
about the same thing. That's what we like to share: friend raising, being intentional. You said these are the 50 people I'm going to meet, and I'm going to
yes,
find out where they are and where I'm going to meet them, and then make that happen, which is absolutely amazing. And I'm sure those are long lasting relationships. It's not even just a one time cold call, because you did your research and you know about these people probably before they even know about
mhm.
them.
Yes, and I can honestly say I have either worked on a project with all of them, I have met them, they have become donors. What I've learned is because it was originally like out of intrigue and interest, like
Mhm,
okay, this is what I'm gonna do. Okay, this is crazy. I'm gonna put this up, or whatever. But I really love people, and I
mhm,
really do love building relationships, because sometimes it's just you just let it organically build over the years. You meet
mhm,
them, people shift and move into different positions. I mean, I've met people that weren't on that 50 most powerful list, and now they are. We've
mhm.
worked side by side per diem. When I first moved,
Yeah,
people have vision, but because of authentic relationships, and I'm very
love
authentic,
it.
it's anything salesman-y, car salesman-y about me. It's authentic. And what I found is that, I give. So when they have something, I show up for them. So then when it's
Mhm,
time for me, and it's not a, tit for tat, but when I need something, they can point me in the right direction. And what I found is most of them will say, "What can I do for you?" And that sometimes I don't have anything. I don't have anything for you to do for me right now, but the relationship is most important, you know.
mhm,
And if you meet anyone who knows me, they will always say, she always says that, the relationship to me
mhm.
is more important than you giving me a one-time gift, or, a sponsorship or an
Right.
event. Because I need much more than that. The relationship, I value it more than anything, and that's very authentic and real. So
Love that. I love that you shared that, and just being your authentic self, because a lot
mhm,
of times, as nonprofit leaders, and I'm sure there's someone listening who's wearing multiple hats, and they are that friend and fundraiser for their organization, and it can get uncomfortable, and it can feel like you need to be a salesperson,
mhm,
but you said it, just be you.
mhm,
If you're you and true to you, your potential donor, funder, this new relationship, whatever this becomes, um that would just flourish on its own. And I see you, Abigail. Hey, Abigail. She said yes, relationships. So Abigail, remember we were on a while back when we talked about chambers, and it came up, and that's kind of how all of this came about, us wanting to have you on to be able to just talk about the benefits of chambers. And you said you had a list of about 25 benefits, and you shared a few of them on here, so that already tells, like, this is a place you need to be. Nonprofits, like, less chamber, we need to get out and look into our local chamber of commerce and get involved. If you are not involved in any, so I'm kind of talking about a little bit of homework here too. If you're not involved in any chambers, let's start out with at least researching and then getting involved with one. Look at the one in your area that you feel best connects with you, your nonprofit. It aligns. You like the type of events they're hosting. Go visit. You don't have to just become a chamber member. You could go to some of those events as guests, non-members, to start out. See if this is the place you feel like you need to be, but you definitely need to get involved with a chamber. And that's what I feel like this whole conversation. There was a theme, we're talking about friendraising. Chamber is one of those ways, and you shared so many solutions to nonprofit problems. Where do I find my board members? Where do I find my good vendors? Oh, I need someone for my upcoming event. I need a location. So even for myself, I do now, whenever we need some sort of service or whichever, I go to our chamber directory. I go look down the list. Who do we need? And so forth. So there's so many resources in joining chambers. So I hope that whoever's listening, if you're catching this on replay, you got your homework for this month. And for the start of this month, you already got homework, right? Well, we always have homework on these calls, but that's it. It's simple. Look into your chambers and see how you can get involved. What Abigail said, those directories are life. Yes, they are. They are. They are. They are amazing. Yes.
So one of the other things that I was going to say is that, I've been blessed with the opportunity to be able to go to be a part of not all of the chambers, but the Orlando Economic Partnership, the African American Chamber, the Hispanic Chamber, the West Orange Chamber, and the East Orlando Chamber. And so I've been able to go to those because I was in another organization, which we were members of all of them. So I was assigned, I was kind of pushed to go to all of them and come back with when you go, you come back with some, your hands, ready to follow up and connect people. And so, but with attending all of those chambers, everyone was so kind, so welcoming. Anytime we had any, I never felt that I could ask a stupid question or I wasn't valued for being in the room. And so I can honestly say that. And a lot of times we didn't pay to attend certain events because they would have certain after hours that didn't cost anything, or it would be a low cost, like $20 or something. And I'm always a believer of doing my research too, because, when you have your list of people that you want to connect your organization to, that that their areas of interest for funding is your mission. I always look at, okay, who's hosting the event? Who's the keynote speaker? Is that the person I wanted to get in contact with? Because it makes Orlando smaller, right? If I'm in a room with 100 people, I know I'm going to get to that keynote speaker and I'm going to connect in some type of way. And I'm going to do my research before I go in there. So then I know of what they've, done over the years. So then I'm not going in cold turkey. And it's authentic, right? Because I'm really interested in you as a person, and the work that you've done when I'm coming in the room. So all of those chambers, and I would train my staff. If I couldn't go, I would train them on what to do. Okay, this is what you need to do before we go here. These are the top 10 people that I need you to connect with. If you're going with our CEO, I need you to make sure you get a picture with her with these 5 people. Do not leave. You're not there to be pretty for the event. You can be cute. You're there to go, and we need to get these connections because we can send the picture afterwards. And this is something that I
love that.
An email with a picture of the CEO and with that person to follow up as a connection. Our CEO loved meeting you at blah 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 blah. As you know, our mission is blah blah blah. That kind of thing, and we would love to have you come in and tour our program. When you have open availability, they see the picture and they almost automatically respond.
I love that. I love that, sending the picture as a part of your follow-up, because and that way too, especially if it's a new person, they met so many people that night, they're gonna know and remember when that email come across who they'll be able to make that connection.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
It's amazing. A bunch of people are about to receive emails from me with pictures like, I love that. So I think
Yes.
that is something, if you're tuning in, that is definitely a really good tip. And I know we do it a lot on social media, but I never thought about it in the space of sending an email with it and then kind of being able to continue that relationship. And I just love everything that you're saying, especially because we talk about friend raising, being intentional with building relationships, and you shared like a lot of tips in how to do that. And you literally said, if I can't make it, my team know the same thing. It's kind of like when we go out there, we're going on a mission, this is what we're going for, this is how we're doing it, this is what we need to come back with. It's not just going and networking, passing cards, and then that's it, the relationship over.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
Follow-up is everything. Follow-up is everything. And then, I mean, we even go down to right then and there in the moment, connecting on LinkedIn. One of the tools that we use, which is it's so fun. It's Greenvelope. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's like a digital card. And Greenvelope is so cool because you can either email them or you can send it to them on LinkedIn. You can send it to them on Facebook Messenger. Yes. Yes. So Greenvelope is it's like a digital card. So you can pop pictures.
Okay.
Green, it's like spelled like green envelope. It's like connected. So Greenvelope.
Okay. I'm gonna find it and drop it in the chat.
Yes, you can send invites to your event. You can put music in, we've put kids singing like songs for like Valentine's Day, and just thanks for loving our children, and sending, and the kids are singing or making stuff, or but you can put rich media inside the card. And so we would send those too as a follow-up. So one of the things we would do is when we would get the Orlando Business Journal or the Orlando Magazine, when people would win certain awards, we would send cards, the Greenvelope cards, to them but it wouldn't be from me, it would be from my CEO. So it would always be from the leader of the organization, because sometimes people do unfortunately pay attention to that title. And so different when a CEO or your leader of your organization sends. So it was always sent on behalf of that CEO, but we would congratulate people. So congratulations for winning the best up and coming business in Orlando, or the healthiest, for winning the healthiest work.
I love it.
So you send the Greenvelope, and in the Greenvelope, you can have them, you can invite them to come tour your facility. Our CEO would love to sit down with you, or we would love to chat with you. Let us know when you're available. But congratulations. We might have whatever we saw in the magazine, a clip with them on the card, and you could write on, on the card, congratulations, or whatever is digital. But those were a little bit more cheeky, ways of connecting with people. And people appreciate that because you're celebrating them and it's authentic, right? When you win something, you're acknowledged and you're being celebrated, like, who are these people saying congratulations on this? And they're paying attention to this. Thank you. I feel so special. So we would do that as well. If my CEO said, I want to connect with, these people from Wells Fargo and Bank of America, they just won all these awards. We're missing financial expertise on our board, and I need to recruit some more people. So, can you reach out to all the banks? And these are all the people, when we see stuff like that, it's an opportunity for us to say, hey, we see you. We celebrate you. We want to get to know you. We want you to be our friend.
I love it. Oh my gosh, that's absolutely amazing. Jennifer asked, was Greenvelope app? I did find the website and drop that in there. It's an app as well.
You can put the app on your phone as well.
That is awesome.
Yes.
I love that. I love resource. And it's one of those things. It's like you have to constantly think of what's a new way to kind of engage your friends, right?
Mhm.
Greenvelope. This sounds like a amazing tool to be able to do that. Because after a certain amount of greenvelopes, then like, are there other like levels of things that you kind of would do as far as like,
So, so typically, when you're setting your what is it called? The cycle of involvement.
uh-huh.
So when you have a strategy of how you're going to bring people into your donor pipeline, I think that's how we kind of were creative and we did that.
Mm-hmm.
And so from the time that you research who you want who do you want to, have a relationship with, then when you meet them, what do you do with that? You invite them to come and volunteer. So one of my strategies was to get them to come and volunteer, maybe read to some children when I worked with smaller children, or maybe come and
Mm-hmm.
the mission and action, that kind of thing. Because when people come, a part of that donor pipeline, when they see and they're engaged, then you get them fired up and they're more involved and
Mm-hmm.
more to your mission. Once they do that, then you get them to an event or where the next place where you're going to do your ask. And so whether that's volunteering, whether that's sponsorship, the donor is going to tell you throughout that cycle of involvement what they're interested in, what they want to do, whether they want to give, okay, I want my organization to give you this in kind. We want to come and resurface all of your floors, or we want to rebuild your roofs or whatever, or we want to give you this amount of money at the end of the year. We're going to give you $50,000, that kind of, they'll tell you during that cycle of involvement. And then of course,
Love it.
our research, so we know what they've done in the past for other nonprofits. But what I've seen in the community is that now how everything is shifting, things that they might not have done before, they're open to conversation. You just have to have the conversation. When they ask you, what do you need? You have to be ready and have a list of those things that you really need. And sometimes I remember in the past not having that, like not
Mm-hmm.
knowing, if we could answer anything for you or fulfill, something for you that you really need that no one else has been able to help you, what would that be?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's like we're going day to day, like we need to feed the kids, we need to do this, we need to do all this stuff.
Right. Right.
Like, no, actually, we need a new building. But you wouldn't think to ask that.
Mm.
Some of these funders that wield a purse that's limitless, you have to have those things ready and on deck and not choke
Yep.
when they ask you. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's been, very interesting and fun for me when I've had those questions asked. Making sure I'm not overstepping if I'm in the room with my CEO or someone who is, over me. I try to make sure
Mm-hmm.
nonprofit, we try to make sure we're not making any missteps. And I'm sitting there like, I can
Right.
tell you exactly what we want, but then I don't want you to be mad at me like, you're so greedy. What is asking us? I have it ready. Let me tell them. They'll tell us if they can't do it, or they'll laugh or something like, "Oh my gosh," I'm like, "Well, that's what we do. We ask you for stuff."
Right. Right.
So,
I love it. Oh my God. We have to definitely schedule a whole nother session on fund development and building those relationships. And I love that you shared that. Jennifer said, thanks. I love these ideas. Yes, these are absolutely amazing. So so we got our homework. So we said our homework is, if we are not involved in the chamber, to get involved with our local chamber. So making sure that we are involved. So the homework is simple: research a chamber in the area, and then go ahead and get involved and schedule. Don't just like, oh, I found it. Actually put actions to it. Oh, what event are you going to go to with the chamber? Plan all that out. So that's homework. So by next week, homework is due. Look, I'm gonna put a due date on it this week. By next session, make sure that is completed. So I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything else before we close out for today?
no. If you want to know more about my organization, I'm at Edgewood
Yes.
Children's. You can follow us on Instagram at Edgewood Ranch, or Facebook, Edgewood Children's Ranch, or visit our website, www.edgewoodranch.com. You can reach me through those channels or in the nonprofit enthusiast room. I'm a part of that as well. And I'll make sure, I promise, when there are free chamber events, that I will post them in there. So
Please,
then you guys
thank
will not have
you.
reason not to come. And it'll be at different chambers. So get out of your comfort zone.
Yes, love it. And we'll definitely drop that contact information. I'm dropping the website right now in the chat box. Awesome. Yes, please go follow Edgewood Ranch. Check them out, follow, and I also dropped the webpage in the chat box. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We are definitely going to have to schedule another one. I appreciate you joining us today. Before we close out, once again, I want to give a special thanks to this month's sponsor, Roots Art Store. So please, 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 you all check them out. We'll drop their information in the chat box. So, all right, everyone. So you got your homework. We'll see you next week with your homework in hand. Bye, everyone. Have a great rest of your week.